Alright, I'm in the video. Doing some more of this Ray stuff. That's his name, Ray. Yeah. Ray Winchenmeyer. Ray Wallace. Something like that. Raymond Wallace. It does sound kind of like a nutter kind of a name, but anyway. I mean, it's musical, but it does sound nutter. It just does. Anyway, yeah, so just doing this human communication thing. So here's another dude, you know, kind of trying to find their own way in the world, and you know, something that meets their own, you know, not just something. See, I like to say something not cliche or something traditional, but in a way it seems like he always wants to go back to that. He keeps getting kind of pulled towards it. So even though right here in the argument he's talking about how having kids is like anti-masculine and something he doesn't relate to as a male ambition, as something that makes him feel like, oh yeah, if I got a bunch of kids I feel like my penis is longer. No. You know, it sort of maybe has the opposite effect. So he's like anti-traditional, but then he's still trying to bend it back to some sort of, no, but men are supposed to be men, and women are supposed to be women's, and, you know, traditional roles and whatnot. So, seems a little bit of a disconnect there between the words and the underlying theme. So anyway, continue. Sped it up a little bit, you know, so not trying to be rude or anything, just want to try to get through this because I'm hours behind. Doing this is not a good idea. I mean, you have to do a little prefacing.
Motivation. You know, these gender wars with the feminists and the MRAs and the MGTOWs. I mean, anybody can look at things badly, like men are aggressive, women are controlling, women are fat, men are reckless.
Yeah, all the generalizations are just so dangerously general. And that's sort of the whole idea of the whole idea to get away from is the generalizations. The idea is sort of the Martin Luther King thing, to go back to a traditional reference, but it just means the idea is to see people as individuals and not see them as classes, and allow people to step out of those classes and not to be pigeonholed by these generalizations. And so then you can say that somebody can be a modification of something, and that's perfectly legitimate, and they should have the right to do so without being labeled in some derogatory manner because one woman lies about rape. You can't go around saying, all women are liars. I mean, it's just not logical.
For all the good it does to fight about those things, instead of realizing, you know what, nobody's going to realize the thing to realize. They're not going to realize it by me bloviating on the matter.
Well, bloviating on the matter is the way people do realize it, in fact. And it's the way people are maturated by a civilization, is by what people are saying, what they see people say, and who they trust, and what they say. So all of that stuff sort of does matter, and you can pretend it doesn't matter, but it does matter. It's like the first logical step is to have an honest conversation.
Anything to opine about? You know, one thing that some people might find it a little disconcerting to contemplate is reproductive strategies and how they might work.
They don't work anymore, so they're irrelevant. There's no well, anyway, it's not that kind of game anymore. Evolution's broken with the invention of the condom and the pill and a lot of things. There's just no such thing anymore.
See, not all men have the same testosterone levels. And men who have high testosterone levels, they have, certain traits. One of those traits is that they are far more physically resilient than men who have lower testosterone levels. Right?
I don't even know if that's true, because of the liabilities it also creates in terms of erraticacy in their emotional character and temperament. Their durability is once you push them too far, they turn into a go postal. What good is that? They start rage, road raging or something.
Like,
they buy really, they make really poor choices in dog, and their own dog eats them.
There is a spectrum. Here's your gender spectrum. You have extremely feminine females moving inward toward less feminine, and the less feminine are less sexually desirable. Then you have the highly masculine males, and then moving inward, you have the less masculine males. Now, the highly masculine males.
Well, again, the masculinity of a male, we can, if we're going to make these stupid generalizations, we understand that women are more interested in a man that makes them laugh and feel at ease, and a lot of things that don't have anything to do with masculinity and might have more to do with their intellect or other attributes, even their income. I mean, if I was a woman and I knew my desirability was dependent on appearance or this or that, then yeah, you're going to tend to mold yourself to get yourself in a good relationship with a solid person. And I suppose if women were, generally speaking, more wealthy in society, maybe men would be easily accused of the same crass behavior that men accuse women of in terms of the sugar daddy syndrome.
Males with the high testosterone levels, they just have intrinsic sexual appeal, as do.
See, again, the sexual appeal thing, it's not the same game. It's apples and oranges, women and men, in that respect. The desire isn't as, for men, it is peacock obvious, superficial. For women, it's a lot less generalizable. It's a lot less obvious, and it's a lot more based on a whole emotional narrative, what they find appealing in men.
Especially feminine females. But everybody's got to make a bargain. The highly masculine males, while they are far more physically resilient.
So look, this is when he gets into his little biological theories that have nothing to do with reality, because the game isn't between men and women. The game between men is between man and man. So that's the real game. Men are competing with each other to be possessors of the females. So they're not really, their masculinity isn't meant to impress women. It's meant to scare the fuck out of men. It's meant to intimidate other men. That's what masculinity is really for. It's fighting hardware. It's not make the women love me hardware. Just the truth. We earned it by surviving the contest of fighting with each other, battling.
And they have traits that just inherently appeal to women. They're not good fathers. They don't want to raise offspring. Okay? So, here's the thing I was thinking, and I have good reason to believe it's true. And I don't know if this is consciously done.
Yeah, so again, I don't think this has anything to do with anything either. I don't think women think all that much about this whole family planning thing. I don't think men think even less than women, and women don't even think about it realistically. They don't think about, oh, he'll be a good father. They just don't do that.
Let me through a reproductive strategy. A woman who is fairly smart, what she does is she gets married. Now, with the man she married, she has one child. And then she cheats on him and has another child with a man who is more masculine. Because this more masculine man, well, he's not going to be good father material.
See, See, these kind of stories, I can just live without all this, whatever. This isn't anecdotal evidence. This is just made up evidence. So what are we bothering with this nonsense for? So I think I'll skip ahead just a little. I mean, I hate to miss out on any of this fun, but I just can't see the point of this shit.
He requires emotional support more than a highly masculine man. He prefers more stability. He prefers something of a plan for the future, more safety. He's less cautious, less of a risk taker.
Yeah, I don't think any of that's true. I think there's plenty of aggressively male men, okay, who can live vicariously through what they're watching. They're voyeurs. So it gets a little more complicated than, you know, being a doer. It's about what's in your head. So what you think that really matters. That's what triggers all the little hormones and everything else, is your confidence level. And you can be artificially confident for a lot of stupid and delusional reasons.
And this lowers his intrinsic sexual appeal. And again, men with lower testosterone levels, they also aren't quite as healthy. They aren't quite as resilient. So,
so again, this is all nonsense. And again, you can see there's lots of males who are highly competitive, have maybe these high levels of male hormone, but they have a high standard for their own performance. And so even though they're highly skillful competitors, they haven't achieved in their own mind their success because they didn't win the big fight, or they didn't conquer all. And so those high expectations, only the gold medal will do. So being super alpha made them look insecure, because now they're not marching around saying I'm king because they didn't get there. They were only a prince. You know, and it just wasn't good enough.
It's also good to have a marriage, to have somebody to care for him, and he can care for the woman. He's got a good life.
Yeah, well, whatever. That whole caring for thing is that's just another. That is a whole different. I'd almost say the motivations and the practicality considerations that drive people into relationships, I wouldn't even put into the category of having something to do with the chemistry between men and women. That just has to do with the pragmatic obligations of our social structure. There's just no other way to do it.
He's earned his way in the circle of life. Now, the woman, she's a real winner, because she gets two progeny. One that has those genes that make a person more cautious and a long-term planner and less aggressive. And another.
Yeah, well, whatever. So whatever this little tiny percentage of the human population that's evolving by some kind of standards, they're totally diluted by the ones who have kids because they got drunk. And there's no other good reason. So I mean, you know, they forgot to take their pill. So it's just bullshit to have this conversation about how we're evolving. We're not evolving. It's not happening. There's no rational instrumentality dictating reproductive success. It's all negative, and it's all incidental. There's no straight lines to draw anymore.
Another offspring who has the healthy genes of the more masculine male. So she is hedging her bets on successful genetic.
Right, whatever. This hedging the bets of this woman, this make-believe characters who's 1% of the population, who has a child by the husband and a child by the secret, more masculine lover. Again, you know, the gardener, the guy cutting the grass. Come on, get real. I'm going to skip ahead some more because this is just a waste of my time.
Then you also have the more masculine men who keep their genes around, because those genes are important. When shit goes sideways.
Alright, we'll go. Just keep moving ahead a little bit more, because you're just going to keep doing this bullshit narrative that has nothing to do with anything in the... It's 2007. Smell the latex.
Let's see. And I'm still
17.
You know, I'm still feeling in a good chatty mood. Did anyone say anything else? I mean, I don't always feel just like talking for hours. I could go for a while. fuck, I got the time if everybody else does. I doubt you will. I'm just going to start Life Crap by Inmendham. See what he says. I miss my old buddy Inmendham. It's been a long time.
Alright, end of video. Yay. Well, maybe.
My bits.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Anyway.
Jump ahead.
None of that crap. And the subject of this video is going to be a lot about addiction, I think. As a statement, anyway, of this one is really important key features of the problem of, fucks with our head, and that's what life is. Life is, we're addicted to it. When you're alive or conscious, you are compelled to maintain yourself, protect yourself. So there's no way not to be able to associate death with the ceasing of your addiction. It's like you can't get to the food anymore, you can't get to the water. It's...
I always put life in such bad terms, but fine, it's an addiction.
Yes, and it's sort of important. It's the most important thing you're doing is being alive, and getting the accurate description of what being alive means. Yeah, that seems like job number one. It's just like if that's what you are. If like you were a dishwasher, it was like, how is the most efficient way to wash dishes? That's what you'd want to know as a dishwasher. And being alive and being human carries with it a whole bunch of function, and it's really good to understand potential functionality, both good and bad. How can it go wrong? It's like a lawnmower, go wrong a lot of ways. So you got to be mindful of that.
Here's the great thing about that, from that point of view. You can kick that addiction. It's not like other addictions where you kick it and then there's recidivism. Like, you don't have to worry about slipping up.
Yeah, well, whatever. So it's more like this is a simple thing, dying, and if you kill yourself, you've now fixed the world and nobody will get cancer anymore, and nobody will be born with AIDS, and nobody, No, it's a non-serious response to the fact that there's something wrong with the system, is to say, like it's saying to the socialists, well, if you don't like the 0.01% owning everything, kill yourself. And then the problem's solved because you're just a complainer. I mean, I hate to say it, but fuck you for being just too stupid.
Falling off the wagon. But all you gotta do is quit once, and it's decisive. You have kicked that addiction forever.
But you haven't forever. How did I get here, Ray? Did I get here because I made the mistake of making me? No, an asshole did. See? So if you don't stop the assholes, then you're just going to keep coming back, Ray. So you don't get to kick the addiction forever, Ray. You get to say the same shit to glib fucks forever, Ray. God, you don't think very hard about anything, do you?
Hard to imagine it any other way, as being nothing but a deprivation of your need to have things satiated. Sorry about the thumb. Camera angle, we're not. So much to consider. So Christopher 7 made a video responding to a Sarah on comment, which is sort of interesting, just old school kind of YouTube.
What is this? A video from 1948? I mean, it's kind of funny. I guess he just randomly picked one. And from the selection, I suppose.
And, it revolved around this idea of being able to say, my life was not worth living. And we can't really say that. Once you're alive, you're just stuck with this impression of the preciousness. You're just tied to the fact that you do find things attractive, you do find things beautiful, that they're compelling. Like the chemical nicotine is just, if somebody's take a cigarette and just cut it in little pieces with a scissor, it'd be like, oh, what a tragedy, it didn't get smoked. There's a pleasure device of some kind. It just seems horrible if I can't smoke it, or somebody didn't smoke it. It was just such a waste, a tragedy. And that's so much of our psychology. And so this relates to a Maximilian Moskia guy who made a very short video.
So, yeah, so he should have said something about that subject, since he is an addict. And I can appreciate that, even though he can know intellectually there's nothing good about this addiction. Absolutely nothing. That a strong alpha male should do just fine without it. Yeah, it is hard to say it's bad because it's good.
Just kind of asking the question, basically stating, okay, it gets the whole evilism thing, that life is habitually, functionally stupid in the sense that it's consumption, reproduction, addiction, and parasitism.
Sorry, parasitism?
Yeah, see, that spells crap. Consumption, reproduction, addiction, parasitism. See? Acronym. Crap. Yeah, I thought it was cute.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't really have anything to say. It's just like if I play this entire video and then I don't say anything.
Yeah, that's kind of retarded. So you don't have anything to say about the subject of addiction, which is really an important part of this whole psychology thing that drives us. And then you don't even have anything to say about consumption, reproduction, so P word, parasitism. I forgot an A in there. Addiction and parasitism, yes. Nothing?
Well, what can I say? Functionally stupid. I mean, that's kind of a... Functionally stupid. I mean, like what? Like compared to what?
Compared to an efficient thing. A dishwasher that washes dishes. So humans that don't understand what it is to be responsible and be a future creator and a causer of effects, that kind of thing, they lose functionality when they're ignorant of the fact that that's the stuff they're all doing. They're involved in shaping the character of the environment. They're part of it. And it's better to be something wonderful than just a fart smell.
Just, compared to what?
Compared to a fart smell.
You can't come up with really a comparison.
Yeah, you can. You can compare imbecile, asshole, reckless jerk, drunk driver to cancer cure. You can compare those two things. Lots of comparisons can be made. You don't understand that there's incredibly dysfunctional, socially destructive, welfare corrosive humans? You don't understand that? You never heard of like Mengele and stuff?
Considering that every single thing that we know has at its base being alive first, and everything...
Being alive first, again, I mean, of all the things you have to know, to even say I'm alive, you'd have to know what not being alive is. So you'd have to know not being alive first, maybe. So again, that just becomes a trick thought experiment that I don't even know if it matters. So I don't think you should do logic that way. I think what you should do is put a collection of facts together. Facts about our biology and the evolution of biological life on Earth, and understand your origins, understand your physical composition, and understand the implications of that composition. And those would be a set of axioms, and then you can make an argument from those axioms. But to say the only fact is the first fact would be retarded.
That we know is therefore the fruit of life. And therefore everything we know cannot be used.
The fruit of life is like, this is, again, is it just a setup? We'll call the good stuff fruit. Well, I can also call it the shit of life, because everything shits. So you get it? You're just playing a word game then, saying, well, I'm going to be an optimist, so I'm just going to talk about lovely pears on hanging from trees. I'm not going to talk about noxious poisons that animals and plants produce, or boa constrictors, or septic tanks. So that's just kind of bullshit, isn't it?
Compared to life as being less stupid.
And so, but the addiction word kind of covers the subject of what's the flaw in the philosophy, in that it can't do anything to make beautiful not beautiful. It can't do anything to make food not tasty. It can't do anything to take.
Yeah, so you can know, like, eating a Twinkie is really stupid and dumb and it's junk food and it's crap, but that isn't going to make it seem like it really tastes good. It's still going to seem like that's going to be really good to eat. And that's a problem. Understanding doesn't change necessarily. It doesn't take away, it doesn't make it go away, the attractive energy created by our biology. So if we're going to defeat our biology and win and allow intelligence to win, we have to be aware that biology can cheat because it has us by the balls, so to speak, and the short hairs, and we have to be ready for that.
Inmendham, buddy, I have been to England, and I can tell you that somehow they have managed to make food not tasty. They have made an art of making food not tasty.
Well, I hear the Canadians are even better. They put mayonnaise on everything.
They must have worked on it for thousands of years.
Apparently, as Antikantavad would testify, apparently you got to do the cheese thing, because apparently they know how to make cheese.
I'm not even that particular about food, but they've made it their mission to make food not tasty, and they've succeeded in that mission.
So yeah, this is like a pointless distraction from the subject, right? So we're going to pretend that because the English have made food not tasty, that means that they're still not horny, or, you know, I don't know. I don't even buy the argument. I mean, it's a premise. I still say, says you. There, how's that? Says you.
It's not a stereotype. English food is terrible. The only edible thing that...
Well, I don't know. What could they possibly do to, like, chips? I don't think you can fuck chips up.
they have is fish and chips. And that...
There you go. Okay. So, yeah, take the fish out and the chips are just fine. So, just eat some chips. What are you complaining about? Pussy. Quit being a pussy.
That shit is admittedly just fucking delicious beyond all reason. But everything else... You know what?
Well, then don't eat anything else. What's so complicated? If everything else sucks on the menu, then eat the thing that doesn't. That's beyond all belief. Yeah, they eat the thing that they've done totally perfect. Okay, well, eat that then. What's the big problem? I can eat potato chips every day, no problem. Really, no problem.
When I was at Montessori school, it used to be like a conference center. Everybody actually gets their own room. And there were maybe 4 woofers staying there. And they also had a kitchen. It was pretty makeshift, you know, hot plate, kettle, microwave. But they had a fairly well-stocked refrigerator. And a lot of it wasn't good. I mostly ate eggs. They had a lot of eggs, so I just fry up some eggs. And for breakfast, I eat this muesli cereal.
Yes, I never liked eggs. And, good for me. Yeah, so real men don't eat quiche or eggs at all. Eggs are really sissy. They're kind of gross in every respect, really. Eesh.
Actually, a lot of different places where I was moving had this muesli cereal. It was fine. I was subsisting. I was finding stuff that was edible and eating it. One of the worst things that happened, though.
Alright, so this is such a sidetrack that goes nowhere, probably, right? Yeah, probably.
The worst thing that happened. The eating rat, you know, like being bitten by a dog. I'm like, this is the worst thing that happened. This is the worst thing that happened. This guy, he was going to be working at the Montessori school, and he was a British bloke, and he started making all the meals, which you think is a good thing. Like, oh, now there's a guy cooking, you know. Here's the problem, though. The first problem is, every meal that he made, it took him at least 2 hours to make. And during that time, I feel like it'd be rude to go in and just scavenge some foods. Like, this guy's going to the trouble of cooking. And more to the point, he's taking up the whole kitchen, had like all this shit boiling, and he's doing all kinds of fucking stuff. Take 2 hours to prepare it, and the stuff he made, like, it was never edible. Like, it's not just that it didn't taste good, and boy, did it not taste good. But also, after you ate it, it just felt like it was like a hunk of lead sitting in your stomach. You felt somehow like It was draining your life force by having consumed it. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Well, I feel bad for you, but yeah, I don't eat what other people cook, so yeah, that's, you know, it's one of those things you really have to, you know, I don't know, it occurred to me kind of early that most people are slobs, and I wouldn't eat what they cook. Yeah, no.
My entire journey, and all of the things involved, that was the worst. Eating those English meals. I think I might have PTSD. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just really cooking isn't that difficult, and things are just so simple. I mean, bread. I mean, you know, it's just so simple. Oh, flour, water, yeast, a little bit of salt. Yeah, I can handle that.
Just love it with you. I see boiled cabbage and I'm fucking triggered.
See, that's, yeah. Boiled cabbage I can stand. Eggs, no. Nope, nope, nope. I like a good boiled dinner myself. Just do potatoes and cabbage. I can do that all day long.
Take away our desire to smell a beautiful smell, or to see a beautiful sight, or to feel a comforting sensation. So
Why is that a bad thing?
No, the point is that we aren't appreciating its cost. I mean, I can say this over and over again. It's about an efficiency equation. For you to have your do this little pantomime on the internet, there's going to be a whole bunch of human drama that's going to take place on Earth. And that's sort of the negative price. The little happy video versus all the human horror and horror. So yeah, that's the problem. The problem is we're made blind by our addiction to the cost. It's like the heroin addict. He doesn't see himself dying. He doesn't see himself, hey, I just whacked an old lady for $10 because I'm addicted to a drug. He doesn't see the cost. That's the problem.
I mean, what you're saying kind of makes it sound like life has things that kind of make it worth living in, you know?
Well, again, if you're going to argue that heroin's worth being addicted to, you know, that the completely biologically contrived sense of need and desperate deprivation, I feel horrible without it, and I need to satisfy the need, is somehow a glorious event. When, if I was to say an alien was doing it to you, you'd be horrified that, oh, they're controlling our behavior, they're manipulating us with this fake deprivation, and you know, you wouldn't be able to say, well, it sounds like a great deal to me. No, you wouldn't say that.
Maybe we shouldn't be against it. Crazy as it's
Glib, glib, glib.
sounds, Inmendham. Maybe since it's so easy to find ways to enjoy life.
It's so easy to find ways to enjoy life. So coming from a guy who's just spent a whole big hard time even finding a good meal in a whole country. So he just ragged about how he didn't have a good meal for 3 months or whatever. And then he's talking about how easy it is. Well, apparently it isn't that easy.
Instead of trying to end all life, or complaining about the philosophy of life or the stupidity of life, maybe
I'm complaining about the waste of it. The unnecessary ripping to pieces of the feeling organisms in brutal and harsh and nasty ways for a silly parade that has no merit, besides the fact that you're all addicted to marching with your little, you know, heels up in the air and feeling all happy in your little orange wigs with your #1 sponge finger in the air. Yes, that parade is a farce for the price that's paid for it. Glib, silly person.
We should try to enjoy it. Because it sounds like it's pretty easy from what you describe.
Yes, well again, you just went through this whole description that even in spite of that ease, you had some sort of problems getting eaten by dogs and kicked out of hotels and all your money taken from your PayPal accounts and homelessness and blah 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 blah. So in spite of the ease, you couldn't manage it. And again, we're really not talking about how not to fall into traps. We're talking about the fact that to play don't fall in the trap game, you're going to trap things. So making the trap is the dangerous thing to do, because something is going to be dumb enough to fall in it. Some whore, with claw hands, will have kids. Yeah. Happy birthday, you have claw hands. Yeah.
It doesn't have an answer to it. You can't provide a verbal answer that makes the agony and the ecstasy element, the idea of obtaining some kind of perfect moment, or the sense of its being out there to get, like the heroin.
Yeah, so I'm again explaining how just the idea that it's wrong isn't necessarily going to be enough to stop you when you have a powerful horny. And that's a problem with our function. And the only thing that can save you is principles and so forth. Future video by Ray. See, hopefully that'll be about something that has a principle involved.
To find it, to uncover it under some rock. Our perception, our sense that it's out there to be grabbed by the pussy is a powerful mechanism. And, I think it's a flaw in the philosophy that it doesn't have, that you can't fix that with words. You can't just say something to a heroin addict to make heroin not important. And you can't say something to a life addict that just makes it not seem like it's something not worth wanting or desiring. And they just...
This ought to be good.
Can't.
Inmendham. Unlike with heroin, you don't have anything better to do.
So, that's his answer. You don't have anything better to do than recklessly play a game that needlessly and excessively harms a bunch of things that never volunteered to be your victim. You're born an owner of slaves, a master. You don't have anything else to do but whip them properly, keep them in their place. No, we have something else to do. We can say, this isn't a good enough game. I'm not going to play master-slave anymore. I'm not going to play winner-loser anymore. I'm not going to play a bad game voluntarily. I'm going to say no. No. Do not. Life.
Okay. There's...
It's always a cause for struggled laughter. These conversations about some notion that there's anything important to talk about. Right, it's all unimportant, Ray. That's what Daddy taught you on his, on his farty lap. That's what he taught little Ray. It all doesn't matter, Ray. Stinky fart, loud fart, it's all fart. Don't worry about it. Just fart.
Okay, life is bad. Life. You can't convince people that it's not worth it. You can't get these damn life addicts to, straighten up their act and stop being addicted.
Yes. Can't get them to apply reasoning and make a rational argument in defense of the unnecessary harm to say, yes, I'm worth killing a bunch of 18-year-olds for in World War II or something. Go ahead, kill 20 or 30 million of them. I'm worth it. I want to hear the I'm worth it part.
There's literally nothing else they can do. There's nothing they can do.
Well, again, the first step to fixing something is identifying it, pointing at it, and then going, that's broken. Yeah, that's the first step, Ray. Shit. You're really not, I mean, I had a way exaggerated perception of your cognitive capacity, apparently, that you really can't even figure that out, that expressing the recognition of a flaw or a broken or a not working righty thing, it's not plugged in, and you notice, hey, it's not plugged in. You shouldn't say something like, it's not plugged in. Yeah, you should.
It is more worthwhile, because there is nothing else, period.
Yeah, well, whatever, right. There's nothing but the Borg, and you must be Borg. Be Borg, Borg, Borg. I love my traditional Borgy, vacuous notions of what it is to be alive. It's cockroach all the way down. Intellectual, that's just nonsense.
You can sort of see it as a mind game, but you can't see it as a sensation. You can't
Sorry about the, his not very good quality.
sense the futility of your existence. You can only kind of understand the futility of your existence. And that's what makes all of this, it makes it difficult to explain.
Right, nature's not going to make you feel the futility of eating every day and getting horny and all that. It's not going to give you that, because the plan is to make a fighting bot, not a, hey, this is stupid bot. That's not what nature's out to do. So yes, our intelligence is at a huge disadvantage, and we just should recognize that. Optimism bias. It's a real thing, Ray.
Sense to explain that the rose has thorns and that the rose will die. To have the whole context of the rose in the moment of the rose. But in the moment of the rose, it's going to be very hard to explain all that, to have that context mean anything. And this is the challenge of philosophy and even politics, is to make something in the future.
Yes, it's to make people think when they're thinking about having a baby, thinking about how will my child die, because that's what it'll do. And have I figured out how to make sure that doesn't go wrong, that doesn't happen badly? Have I got that base covered?
A goal, understandable as valuable, when it doesn't have any, when the immediate product is something not pleasant or not good, and that you have a good, that will be the byproduct of action now that will not be pleasant.
So I guess Ray, I imagine his parents didn't do a whole lot of thinking before creating the Raymond. And I'm sure they didn't have too much knowledge about how to make a Ray. And Ray would say, that's okay, because look how great it turned out. I'm 30-something and a busboy. I mean, hey, you did great. No, maybe not.
And it's difficult to make people appreciate that, understand that, the total of your life will not be what you're living at any one moment in your life. Your life is pretty much what's happening now. It's not the past or the future. And so unless you're having this conversation with somebody on fire, or whose skin is all burned off, or they got flesh-eating disease, it's a little bit more complex and difficult argument to make. And
yes, the people who are really in trouble aren't watching YouTube videos. Yes, newsflash. The people who don't need to hear it are the people who, they're getting it in the real way already. They have it up their ass already. They're all full up. And so who are the people that need to hear it? Ah, that's right. The people who just happen to be in the rose glory. They happen to be they're weak in the sun, and they're totally delusional about how the story really goes, and that there's going to be a bunch of Japanese beetles that are going to show up, and they're going to, eat holes in their fun, and eventually they're going to be just decomposed crap.
And so we never obtain complete context, and that we have conversations about how worthwhile it is to live, and we haven't died yet, and we haven't watched what happens after we die. We don't have any of this full context.
Right. So Ray just glibbed over that one, I'm sure. Ooh, yeah. I'll testify to how great life is, even though I didn't do one of the most significant parts of it yet. The, dying, decomposing, rotting, deconstructing, falling apart. I'm sure it's fun. Like everything else is fun.
Carrie Fisher might have been somewhat depressed about her death on the airplane. If she saw it and had it, could see the experience of it in context, could see the grief of her mother, and then watch her mother die, would make it even more contextually difficult. You could imagine.
Yes, I imagine her story about how wonderful life would be a little different when you find out that yes, you die, badly, and then your mother dies because you die badly from grief. Knowing that as context of this is what your life will be, yeah, I think it might temper your enthusiasm. I can't wait to get to Disneyland, where I fly off the roller coaster and get decapitated by the hippopotamus in the jungle trip thing. I mean, if you know that's the fate, you're going to say, maybe Disney World ain't all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. Let's go somewhere else.
That would not be something she might wish on somebody. Oh yeah, let's do that again. That was a fun ride. That kind of thing. Context helps, but it still doesn't undo the fact that we are compulsive. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I can say all this stuff about, hey, guess what? Maybe you're not feeling their pain. All the losers out there, all the people in the nut house right now spinning around in a circle going, there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. You're doing it. I know you don't think you're doing it, but you're doing that. Really. And the fact that you don't feel it is the only problem. If you understood that's what's really happening. Brain is doing that. And that's the same as this brain doing that. Brain doing something and this brain doing it, same difference. When you figure that out, then you're going to have some terror to temper your enthusiasm.
Do you have a cat in Wyndham?
I don't have one on purpose, but yes, the cat has me as a vending machine. Chose me to be the lucky person who has to be a slave to its needs.
Somebody else's house, sorry. I was distracted. We have things chewing in your house. Anyway, let's just try to keep down living also.
I knew it was coming. I knew the chimpanzee moment was coming. He's going to scratch his head with his foot. Oh, God. Double jointedness is gay. I think. By definition or something. I think the king or something. Maybe it's an English thing. Yeah, I think the king declared that like 400 years ago or something.
Moment to moment. Just brutal out there in the real world. So, so addiction is the hardest thing to, and it's like, say, the optimism bias, you can put in that same kind of category, but I think it's the cruder mechanism is addiction, and it's hard to talk somebody out of that perception.
So he listens very well, you have to concede. He just listens to this whole video and just doesn't have a damn thing to say. Kind of funny.
Of their need. Their need seems real and visceral, and mere words, just, for most people, I suppose, don't suffice, and they
There's no need to talk somebody out of their need.
Yes, there is. Herpes! See, some words have some power. Or you could say AIDS. And even that doesn't stop people. As amazing as it is, you could say the word herpes and AIDS at the right time. You can even say the word pregnancy at the right time. And that still doesn't stop them. So it's a real thing. Yeah, that's right. This I'm caught up in it syndrome. It's a real thing. It's a real enemy of the right choices. The fact that we have impulses dictated by something of a cockroach mentality that are powerfully visceral, and that our thoughts, they're just thoughts. I think that one, yeah. Fuck that. Yeah, they're just not as strong as our feelings.
When they cannot do anything better. I would say they can't do anything better with their life, because you're trying to talk them out of life itself.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to talk them out of supporting the idea of it, making more of it. It's not about, again, making an argument that somehow killing yourself will solve the problem. It won't. Not procreating will solve the problem, and not defending the perpetuation of this silly, addictive carnage game on Earth. I mean, it's time to close the Colosseum. The planet Earth can be visualized as a Colosseum, where this gross spectacle takes place of just carnage, for a few winners going, I win, and a bunch of losers going, ouch, 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 ouch. Yes, very long song with many verses.
I mean, you talk about the pointlessness of like what I do. And you know what? Fair enough.
Yes, exactly. I'm a pretty fair guy. Pretty accurate in my, whatever, rags. I don't throw, styrofoam. I throw the real shit, fella.
But people have a sense that life is worth living.
It's not the argument. It's the argument that, yes, I've already argued that that's a nonsense. It's not a good sense. It's a nonsense. It's not an intelligent description. It's a penis description. It's their anus twitching, the happy tune. It's not coming from the right place. It's not a qualified opinion. Your farts.
Well, then it is worth living.
Nuts. Just nonsense. They believe it, so it must be true. No, it doesn't must be true. No. Believing doesn't make it so. I think that's a verse in a song also.
Maybe perhaps need some kind of more an experience that displays their vulnerability or the threat to their function in terms of the bag of experience.
Yes, you have to make it personal, apparently, and that's just so disappointing that they need to temper their enthusiasm. They do need terror. They do need to know, fuck, that was a close call. Or they just need to understand what they're playing with is nuclear energy. And when it goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong.
That is their life. They need something quite, a bigger stone of lead, to sink the bag under the surface and to give them the perception that they didn't win the game. The game beat them, and it's going to beat most living things. And that understanding is arrived at without any profit. I mean, there's no profit in me recognizing that all this angst and energy I've invested into my life, was quite unproductive, and that I would have been better off never to have had the compulsion, never to have had the addiction to beauty or cigarettes. Because I can understand that this is a bad thing. Mental.
You can't be better off not having had that, because you can't be anything.
No, yes, you can as a theoretical circumstance. So obviously, I know I can't go back into the past and redo my life, but we can understand that if you change a circumstance, that you change a life or change what it would happen to it. So again, to make some technical argument that we can never make metaphorical or analogistic comparisons is silly. Of course we can. We're intelligent. We can do that. And so we can imagine what would have been, and that's a perfectly valid way to make a comparison. I can think about, like, I can change somebody's tire and not put the bolts on the wheel. And I can think about what would happen if the bolts are on the wheel and what would happen if the bolts are off the wheel. I can think of the two circumstances before they even exist and recognize one seems to have a lot more fail connected to it than the other.
Unless you be something. I know that sounds like pointless to say, but it's true.
No, it's utter rubbish. It's like an immature evasion of any subject in the universe that way. So regardless of what you wish to evade, you could just evade it with some sort of notion that you can never make anything, you can't make any kind of comparisons to a what if. That's just silly. You actually have to chop somebody's arm off with the lawnmower to demonstrate that lawnmowers can chop arms off? Come on. No, you don't.
Like, I'd be better off if I'd never been born. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't be better or worse. You wouldn't be anything.
The idea is that if you're carrying a negative function, then the atmosphere as a whole, including you, would be better off. So in that sense, the argument is there's less negative potential created by not playing with radioactivity, for example, or not drinking a bucket of lead paint, or whatever the thing would be. You can say that, yes, it won't be, that we're not talking about an actual you, we're talking about substantively what you represent, which was a bucket of pain and suffering that won't exist. That's true. So again, you're just evading.
I don't know how to put this more simply.
No, I don't know how to put this more simply. You're evading a simple comparison. Just evading it. Not dealing with it. Pussying out and running away. There's a simple truth. Our lives involve creating value by existing, and that value can be negative, and to prevent a negative is always good.
But I can't steal it, because it's still something that I find desirable. And so I could argue that this is true, is that statement. This is a stupid, dumb addiction. And so it's this living thing.
Do you have anything smarter to do? No, we literally can't.
So again, it's the only game in town is Gladiator War, therefore we're going to go play Gladiator War. So if the only entertainment provided was bullfighting or dog fighting or cockfighting, you'd still go buy a ticket because it's the only game in town. Whatever.
It's not necessarily feeling, and people live by what they feel, which is a problem. Because they just don't realize they don't have to be those. They can step beyond the psychology that's trying to engineer their fate. The DNA molecule's voice is just one voice. It doesn't have to be the only voice in your head. You can have better voices in your head, giving you some context and helping you understand.
Voices in your head is not a good thing, man.
Yeah, so another glib evasion of the concept that the voices in our head are the idea streams. Carl Sagan lives in my head. Albert Einstein lives in my head. Lots of different people live inside my head, some portion of them as themes and memes. And those are voices in my head. Me at 10 years old, me at 15, me at 35, me at, on and on. So again, just pretend that's not what complex humans experience all the time, which is the truth, and you know it. There's lots of voices in your head, and you know it, Ray. So why would you say, it's not good to have voices in your head? Alright, well that joke really goes good at the Borg conventions. I mean, everybody at the Borg likes that joke.
Okay, you don't have this engineering your fate, your DNA, your biological imperatives. Okay, step beyond that. And fucking kill yourself. But if you don't...
So again, the only option is to kill yourself. You don't identify that, hey, that blade is loose. You don't identify the dangers. You don't identify the functional mechanism. Again, I didn't make me. I don't need to be punished for making me. I don't need to be deterred from making me. I don't need any of that shit. Obviously somebody else needs it. Somebody needed to tell my mother, hey, you know what you're doing? And you're saying, no, don't bother with any of that. And I'm saying, why are you doing that, Ray? It's like really stupid. Why are you afraid of people being interrogated before they start playing with nuclear power? Dangerous stuff. Why are you afraid that that might happen, Ray? Fuck.
Don't kill yourself. Well then, you're accepting your fate. To live and, oh my god, even worse, enjoy it. Oh my god.
So again, just keep glibly stepping on the skulls of those who aren't enjoying it, Ray.
Advocating for life means that you're advocating for the average life in a sense. The average life now is born into poverty, and I don't think you'd want to live that life. You might be attached to your own life and your own values and your own sensibilities and your own definition of beauty.
I'm glad you said that, inmendham. Because I find life pretty worth living, and I would certainly advocate for it. And, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows.
Okay, well, whatever. So he'd advocate if he could pick one of these tokens out of a